And guys are really good at hiding things.
Yeah.
And I know I was an expert at hiding
Hmm.
things. And when you're hiding things, you're not being authentic with yourself. And when you can't be authentic with yourself, you can't be authentic with the people you engage with, particularly your spouse
Yeah.
and or your children.
Hey everybody, welcome to Gurus and Game Changers. Today we're going to go to a place that is very seldom visited and probably even less so ever discussed. It is a place that is sometimes very isolated, but it's crowded at the same time. It's unhealthy, but it's always grateful, and it can be very exhausting, but nonetheless, there's still a relentlessness there. Where is this place? This place is the mind of a man, right? Our guest today, Mike Van Pelt. He's a men's life coach, an author, a speaker, the founder of True Man Life Coaching. And through this, he helps men find that meaning and that satisfaction that they once had so they can get their mojo back. Does this sound familiar? Does it strike a chord, right? And for you ladies out there, even if you're not one of these men, you know these men, and they are not letting you know that they are these men. So today we're going to rip the roof off what it means to be a man and everything that that implies, all the challenges and so on and so forth, with one of the experts on the subject, Mike Van Pelt. Mike, thank you for joining us in studio. I appreciate it. Welcome to the show.
I mean, I don't know how I can top that intro. So I guess we're done here.
Told
It was
you.
great having you.
Told
Take care, buddy.
Pretty solid. Yeah.
It's so good to have you,
Yeah.
Mike.
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I'm gonna jump like right in.
Yeah, let's
So,
go,
Mike,
baby.
what do you think are some of like the daily challenges facing men?
I think one of the challenges going on with men is we live in such chaotic times, so much chaos, and chaos really leads to fear. And when you have fear, it holds you back. All of these things going on in the world, and it causes confusion. Now, men or women are both confused on this issue. So don't get me wrong, but I work most intimately with men that need to lead their families well. But when there's chaos is going on, it's hard to lead your families well. And so I think this is the challenge that we face right now. Who do you listen to? Who do you trust in a world where it doesn't feel like you can trust anybody? How do you maneuver around in all this? And I think these are the challenges that are facing men. I think there's a hunger out there. And, quite honestly, what I found is that a lot of guys don't know where to go get it or who to talk to or who can they even feel comfortable talking to about that. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously a lot of challenges.
Yeah,
in the world today. But so, how come you're the guy that they're going to go to and get help with that? Like, what is it that you give to these men?
Experience. I've been down that road. I talk with a lot of guys. I'm involved in a lot of groups. So I hear a lot of the same stories over and over again. So really what somebody would get from me is experience and wisdom. And I know what it's like to go full bore every day and not slow down. And that's a big problem that a lot of guys have. They don't know how to hit the pause button. And that's really typically the first thing we need to work on is how do you slow down?
I find that a lot of guys can be surrounded by people, but still be very lonely, right?
Yeah.
How do you counsel men on that topic? Because that seems very fundamental. You're going to need people in your life. You need to open up.
Yeah. Loneliness and isolation are bad things. They're bad for us all.
Mm-hmm.
But men are really good at it. Women do group stuff together really well. The old joke, women, I mean, somebody says, I got to go to the bathroom and 3 or 4 women walk up and they go walk out and go to the bathroom. Men don't do that. No, not at all.
No.
And, but it's not good. Isolation is when we do really bad, nutty stuff. And the interesting part about isolation and loneliness, there's a loneliness epidemic. A lot of us don't have very many friends, really. And the older you get, the harder it gets, it seems. But the worry about loneliness and isolation is this. Middle-aged men in the United States are taking their lives faster than any other age bracket. Yeah. Women make more attempts than men, Men choose lethal means to end it all. So when it's done, it's done. And this is a serious problem in this country. Mental health is a very serious problem in this country. In fact, the Surgeon General of the United States has called um, uh, loneliness an epidemic. So it's a real problem. And so one of the reasons why I advise men's groups and why I've gotten involved in men's groups is if you're doing them right, you're having very intentional conversation. And what I have found is that guys want to really have these conversations. They want to know how they can be better men, better dads, and better fathers. And where one guy's weak, another guy's strong, you can learn from another man. And so it's really important for us to find those groups where we can be in a trusted environment and learn from each other. When we learn from each other, we're strong. And where you find strong men, you will find strong families. And where you find strong families, you will find strong churches. And where you find strong churches, you will find strong communities. And we're very much missing that in this country where there's this, battle waging between, is a man a man? Is a woman a woman? Can you be one
Right.
or the, can you, all of these things going on that is leading to this chaos. And, to a large degree, God's been taken out of the picture. And, it's not wrong if you're a Christian. It's not wrong. And it's not right for every Christian to go around pointing fingers either. So that's a wrong thing that a lot of Christians do. But
A quick question. So I
yeah,
know you just advise men, correct? Is there a reason why you just decided to coach
yeah, it's a good question.
men?
Most people, when I said I was going to do this, said, "You're crazy." So why do you think I'm crazy? Well, women will hire a coach easier than a man will. And my joke with men is men never show up until they're bleeding out and, really wounded before they'll ask for help. Now, that's a reactive approach versus a proactive approach. But I get it because I was in that position. But here's the thing, and this is really true of us all, but we're all either coming out of, going into, or you're probably, it's coming your way, that thing that happens in your life that stops you dead in your tracks. And you're like, well, how, you may think life's perfect right now, but something's coming. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Are you ready for whatever is coming your way? You know, when the pandemic hit, I had big plans for what I wanted to do. And all of a sudden, boom, I hit a wall. You know, and here's what came out of that. So in men's groups where we were telling each other, don't wear a mask, keep it real. You be authentic, right? And now all of a sudden, don't isolate yourself. Now all of a sudden, I'm told to wear a mask, isolate, and like we would like look at each other, going, we're calling each other on the phone, right? Because we're like trying to figure it out. Like what are we supposed to do here? I don't understand. This is crazy, And it got much worse for our family because on June 15th of 2020, my wife came home from a company she'd been with for 14 years and they were in the hospitality business. So you can imagine how that was going at that point. And they decided they didn't need her position anymore. And so our family got dumped on its head and we were like, well, now what are we going to do? Now, the good news is we landed on our feet. It took us about a year. And in the middle of all that, my son graduated from high school and had to make a decision on a college. And my daughter was this was like our family got crazy. Now we landed okay. So we were I told you the story would come up. So, we're in Atlanta now. My wife is, head of human resources for an organization, what she was doing before. And it's all good. But the point of that story is this. Had I not been in a place where I had an open heart and an open mind and an open line to God at that point in my life, I'm not sure we'd even be talking today. I think everything would have, it felt like it was spinning out of control, but it really, really, no doubt would have spun out of control had I not had the relationship with Christ that I had. And so I just encourage people, nobody wants to go through bad times, but it is called life and it will happen whether you think it will or not. So I encourage guys, don't wait to bleed out before you take action on yourself.
It's preventative. Yeah, it's preventative. And so, like, the makeup of your group is you're very spiritual, obviously. What happens when a man comes to you and they're not maybe a believer in Christ or God, or is that even are they still welcomed into the
I
group,
think,
or how does that work?
yeah, the answer to that is yes. And I very specifically call myself a Christian men's life coach
Okay,
because I want people to know up front, this is where I'm coming from. Now,
right,
if somebody from outside that realm came to me, that would be a hint to me that they're curious about something.
right.
And so at that point, I want to have a conversation with somebody and find out what they're curious about. Now, if it's an atheist, they're not coming to me anyway.
Right,
So
right.
really what I've done is I've defined myself as what I am, and then, we'll go from there. Here's the thing. Church is in decline in America, and I hate to say that. There's a decline in people going to churches, especially the mainstream denominations, whether it's Catholic, Lutheran, Presbyterian, Methodist, all these. Where the churches have been growing are these non-denominational, right? And so where you can go get a rock concert every Sunday and all this other stuff. Just make sure you choose a biblically based church. That's all I'm saying. So there's been a decline in people going to church on Sunday. So where do you get church? If you're not going to church, where do you go get church? You can go get it in a men's small group. It's a great place to do it.
So let me switch it a little bit up to, like, I think I read that you talk about toxic masculinity. I mean, everyone sort of talks about toxic masculinity. What do you think that is, and what's a common misconception about being a masculine person?
Toxic masculinity is something that has become, I believe, very media driven. Okay. But what men need to know is that I commonly say I help men get out of their head and into their heart. Why is the heart important? Because that's where all the emotion is. And I think if men need to do anything, they need to get in touch with that emotion, and they need to get in touch with their heart, and they need to know that it is very masculine to be vulnerable. It's very masculine to be authentic. And I didn't really fully understand this again until I got more into the men's world and really that intimacy with Christ. I remember when I first was going to some men's groups, I would look at some of the leaders and I'd be like, man, they tear up really fast. Like, what's up with that? Now that's me. I mean, I can watch them. I can see an
I love it.
advertisement,
I
then the
love it.
tears start coming. And that's a very masculine place to be, because you're in touch with your emotions, not just anger, right? Everybody go, men always, it's the biggest topic at men's small group, like, that whole anger issue. And I understand that, but it's, men are not typically in touch with their emotions. And that's what we need to get in touch with. That is a very masculine place to be in.
And look, I think that most guys would understand and appreciate that, right? It is masculine. It is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to feel sadness. It is okay to feel any emotion that is not an aggressive, competitive emotion. But at the same time, I think, and in your words, I don't know if you said them or wrote them somewhere, men are now more afraid than ever to be masculine, to be free, and to be alive, right? So there is this assault on just masculinity that all of a sudden that bucket of toxicity includes just being masculine. And I think that's where we're going wrong. It's okay to be masculine unless there's a nefarious use of it for intimidation or for, right?
100%.
But I think the problem is that just general masculinity in this country, at least, has been deemed, a magic wand has been waved and has been said, oh, you're being masculine, therefore it's toxic. And I I personally could not disagree more with
Yeah.
that. And I think based on your words, I think you agree with that as well. Men are more afraid than ever to be masculine. And I think that's the way it's come out. You
I
need
think,
to push them the
yeah.
other direction. There's teens and young men, like in their 20s, early 20s, that are really just coming into manhood, right?
Yeah.
We all think we're men at 21 years old. We're not,
Oh, yeah.
right? It's the reality. You need to go through some stuff, right? What do you have? What words, sage words of advice do you have to guide them as they make this transition into a more adult version of a man?
What are the stages of manhood that you go through, and it kind of breaks out in age brackets, but the last two are kings, and then you graduate to a sage, which is the guys that are usually, they call them 60 and above, this gray-haired guys that have all this life knowledge. I think what young people, and this works both ways, so I'm going to work it like this. Young people, I would encourage them to seek out kings and sages in their life, guys that have been there, that have lived a little. And men, if you're in the king stage, if you're in your 50s, if you're in the sage stage, you're in your 60s or 70s, seek out the young people. We're too quick to point to these young people. And I got a 21-year-old and a 19. I got, a sophomore and a freshman in college. So I'm exposed to these young people. They have a different view of life. Guess what? You have a different view of life, but you're never going to come together,
Yeah.
if you don't talk about what's
Right.
going on. And I think the young people should seek out the older people, and the older people should seek out the young people and just find out what's going on.
Well, let me ask you then. So what would be like just, just to kind of encapsulate, like 3 things you would advise men these days in order to be a better man?
Good question.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. So I would say ask powerful questions. Be curious. Um, Curious is a part of that. And don't go it alone. Have a wingman, have a buddy, find a group. You're no good on your own. Don't be out there isolating yourself. And I would really encourage men to discover what their purpose is if they don't know what it is. Because when you don't know what your purpose is, you just kind of walk around aimless.
Yeah.
It's
And
important.
there's
Yeah.
so many great things that you can be a part of.
Of all the men that come to you and ask you to help them get the meaning back in their lives, right? And maybe to your point, move from their mind to their heart. What emotions do you see inside them that they are not showing? What emotions do they have more than anything else that they're keeping pent up?
A lot of guys carry so much shame
Shame.
from things that have happened in their life. One of the things, and I don't want to say it surprises me anymore, it doesn't, is how many things happen to, and I'm going to say people in general, not just men, when they're young. It's funny how the devil seems to find us when we're 6, 7, 8 years old, and something happens where it's a physical abuse or a sexual abuse or finding pornography, or there's a wide range of things that happen. Most of them are extremely uncomfortable, and most of them change our lives and the direction of our lives at a very young age. And, so there's a lot of shame that people carry around, and guys in particular, we bury our feelings, hoping that we don't ever have to express them.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, where those feelings come out is in relationship. And so, it's hard to marry somebody and have a quality relationship with them when you're hiding something. And guys are really good at hiding things.
Yeah.
And I know I was an expert at hiding things. And when you're hiding things, you're not being authentic with yourself. And when you can't be authentic with yourself, you can't be authentic with the people you engage with, particularly your spouse.
Yeah.
And or your children.
Staying on that topic, what do these men want the women in their lives, let's say their spouse, just or the significant other, what do they really want those women to know, but they're not saying?
Wow.
Interesting.
I really do think that men want to reveal their heart, but they're fearful if they do and the truth comes out about maybe who they were or what they've done, that it's over. And there's no doubt that, past things could damage a relationship.
Well, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This has been an incredible conversation. I've learned a lot about men.
About men? Did
Yeah.
you? That's the goal. That was the goal of having Mike on the show, for you to learn about
men
men.
everywhere.
Just for me to learn about men. Thank you, Mark. That was really kind of you. So how can we help you get the word out about the True Man podcast or about a retreat that you're doing? Or we like to kind of try and help our guests however we can.
Yeah, I'm trying to move more into group activity. That's kind of where I started. And I do individual coaching, but, yeah, I mean, if you want to learn more about what I do, we're always trying to upgrade and add stuff to the website. You can go to my website at truemanlifecoaching.com, and the podcast is on my website, but it's truemanpodcast.com. We'll take you right into the website.
So thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Mike. This has been such a pleasure.
Yeah,
really have enjoyed this, and I've learned a lot, and you've learned a lot.
It's been great. No, look, I love this topic, so I'm glad we had somebody.
He was
like
very
yourself
excited
of your
for this
caliber,
podcast.
for sure.
I'm glad you like this topic. I'd be a little disappointed if you did.
Right. I didn't even think I said that to you in the communications that we had back and forth. I've been looking forward to having somebody on of your caliber to talk about this topic for a while.
This is important, because when men get talked about, typically it's, we're the butt of a joke. If you go back and look at all movies historically,
Amen.
look at the dads in movies, or the
Sitcoms.
grandpas, or the crazy uncle, right? And so men get portrayed in a bad light, and I think that causes confusion. And we're more than that, and we need to be more than that, and we need to step up and be more than that. I believe that we can be more than that. We just need to come together and learn from each other and talk about, what we're doing right or what we're doing wrong. So, I love this stuff.
It's great. Well put. 100%.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Be well. And thank you all for watching.